third and final race here for the Super Series, and the sun is now starting to set. But man of the moment is Joe Marshall. Joe, this is your first weekend with us, but you've come away with a third and a first.
I wouldn't expect it, to be honest, at all. Come here with just a top 5, hopefully, and then got on the podium yesterday, and then first today, buzzing, dead excited, yeah.
So obviously you just need to get a good start off the line here.
Yeah, because we've got some quick lads behind me, so we get a good start and hopefully carry the line through. We should be able to bring it home, hopefully.
Brilliant, well, we'll wish you the best of luck.
Cheers,
well done. Right, we're going to hand it straight over to Andy for all of the action.
Well, we've had 2 cracking races already here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. What does race 3 have in store for us? It's another grid based on the result from the previous race. So Marshall Burks and Fleet on row 1, with Sam Bailey and Bradley Kent on row 2, Nathan Heathcote and George Grant are next, ahead of Alex Miller and Clive Powells on the 4th row. Jake Swan Dixon is next, ahead of Darren Kell, then Dale Crowsley and Russ Lindsay, Javier Brook, with Cameron Thompson, then Liz Walton and Jude Worley towards the back of the field. Then we have those that had issues in the previous race: Jeremy Crook, Declan Lee, Chris Webster, Jim Hart, Matt Pickford and James Kell. Possibly not all of those cars will be there. I'm pretty sure James Kell is not taking the start. I can see Matt Pickford and Jim Hart though, so actually that might be the only car that's missing, with James Kell's car fairly badly damaged after its race 2 shunt. So for the final time this weekend at Brands Hatch, we're about to go racing in the MX-5 Super Series. Lights out, away we go. Good start made by Sam Bailey. I noticed, look at that start from Dale Crowsley, carving his way through the pack from outside the top 10. He's made up 3 or 4 positions before we even reach Paddock Hill Bend. Now let's see if they all get through in one piece this time. There's a few sideways moments. Look at that, there's no one in the gravel, there's no one pointing the wrong way. What's going on? Up towards Druids we go again, and well, hang on, there's still time for it all to kick off. Lots of locking up, lots of sliding out wide, but no contact this time around, so maybe a few words have been had in the paddock between races. Not a good start for Simon Fleet this time. Ironically, he's been making the really good start so far this weekend. The blue and pink car that finished second in yesterday's race, therefore started second for this one, is down to 4th as they head through Surtees for the first time. On board with Bradley Kent, he is behind Simon Fleet, in fact, in 5th place. To the outside, but there's no way through there. Through clearways, it's all going on in front of them. Look at that, it's almost 3 abreast for the race lead, as I think Sam Bailey got a bit held up behind the race leader, Joseph Marshall Burks. And is that Nathan Heathcote going through? Yes, it is. Nathan Heathcote up the inside line, and he's into 2nd place. So at the end of lap 1, it's Marshall Burks that leads the way. It's Heathcote in 2nd, Sam Bailey in 3rd, and Heathcote going for the race lead. Look at that, from 3rd to 2nd to 1st in the course of, well, a corner and a half, really. Did he complete the manoeuvre? Yes, he did. Nathan Heathcote into the lead with some fantastic overtaking. He's sideways into Druids, but as a former British Rallycross champion, that will not faze him in the slightest. And Nathan Heathcote now trying to set sail and pull away from the rest of the pack. 2nd place for Marshall Burks, 3rd is Sam Bailey, 4th for Bradley Kent, and then 5th place for Simon Fleet as they go back down the Cooper Straight on board with Alex Miller. He's in 6th, so Bradley Kent somewhere has got past Simon Fleet, and now it's Alex Miller, the next man that's got Fleet in his sights. Ahead of us, Sam Bailey going up the inside of Joseph Marshall Burks in the distance for 2nd place. There may have been contact there because Marshall Burks is in the gravel trap and sliding back into the middle of the road, and Alex Miller, really quick reactions there to avoid running into him. Simon Fleet likewise did a good job to avoid him, and that's not the first time we've seen cars going off at clearways and then rejoining in slightly spectacular fashion. Bit of wheel banging there between Clive Powells and Russ Lindsay, and Powells will go through on the inside of Paddock Hill Bend. Javier Brook tries to launch a surprise attack as well, and it might just work actually. Russ Lindsay a bit quicker on the exit of the corner, but we'll have the outside line for Druids. So what does that mean for the race order? Well, Heathcote is escaping, Sam Bailey's into 2nd, Bradley Kent 3rd, then Fleet 4th, and Alex Miller is now into 5th position. And they are the 4 cars, the last 4 that I mentioned, that are fighting for 2nd place at the moment, but I'm intrigued to see whether Sam Bailey has the pace to chase down Nathan Heathcote, because in race 2 they both started on the back row of the grid. Bailey got to 3rd and Heathcote got to 5th, but of course that was Heathcote's first ever race in a Mazda MX-5. Sam Bailey has quite a lot of experience and won races last year in the MX-5 Super Series, so is he going to be able to keep up with Heathcote, or is Heathcote going to be able to pull away? Well, for the time being, actually, it's not Heathcote that Sam Bailey's bothered about, it's Bradley Kent, because Bradley Kent, the younger brother of TCR racer Lewis Kent, is really applying the pressure here, trying to get the over-under on the extra Paddock Hill Bend, but Sam Bailey's seen it all before, moves over to the inside to defend. Bradley Kent, though, is not averse to going the long way round at Druids, as we've seen on several occasions. He cuts back to a late apex, carries good speed down the hill. What about Graham Hill Bend? A bit of a dam on the brakes there for Sam Bailey, making sure he hadn't had any pad knock off by hitting the curb through Druids. While behind them is Javier Brook there, the black car, in behind the blue and white of Russ Lindsay. several different lines taken out of the corner. George Grant is the next one behind them as well, and George was running well in the previous race and only ended up 6th. He was 7th in race 1, 6th in race 2, but unfortunately I think he's a bit further back again now in this one. He's all sideways through Surtees, but something must have happened to George Grant in the second half of the previous race, and he just started losing positions all of a sudden. But he's on the attack here, going up the inside of Xavier Brook, who in turn is going up the inside, I think. Yeah, they're 3 abreast here almost. Brook backs out of it though, so Lyndsay will hold on to his position. I think George Grant is going to go through on the inside of Xavier Brook here, wheel to wheel across the start finish line, almost banging wing mirrors, under braking for Paddock Hill Bend. Later on the brakes for Xavier Brook on the outside, but it is the outside line, that's the dirty side of the road. There's lots of cement dust and dirt and gravel up there as well from previous incidents earlier on in the day. Almost a bit more content there. Well, how late do you want to brake, Xavier? That was really, really bold under braking for Druid, but then he's sideways on the exit of the corner. And, just casually, whilst saving a mammoth slide at Druids, just reaches out and just straightens up the wing mirror that's just been knocked out of place after that contact with George Grant. He's still busy trying to unfold it. That is the sort of composure that you have to have as a racing driver, though, regardless of what level you're racing at. He seems to have somehow lost his composure, though, here, although he ties straight back on the inside of George Grant. You know what, I've given up predicting what Xavier Brook's going to do. He was sideways at Surtees, and then the very next corner gained a position. Back with the second place battle, and Bradley Kent up the inside for second place. He goes through. That was a lovely move up the inside of Sam Bailey at Paddock. Doesn't run too wide on the exit either, so Kent into second place, defends the inside line at Druids just to make sure there's no retaliation from Sam Bailey. And he moves into second position. Bailey third, Simon Fleet fourth, looking to add a third podium finish of the day. Came into this weekend with only one podium in his Super Series career. He's already doubled up on that today. Can he get a third out of the 3 races? Well, he's within touching distance of a podium, but he'll have to find his way past the very, very rapid Sam Bailey if he wants to do it. Through clearways they come again. Sam Bailey in, as I said, the car driven by his son Jake last year to numerous race victories and 17 podiums in the end. He had fewer race victories than Josh Jackson last year, but had more podiums than Josh. And it was very, very common to see this car at the sharp end fighting for race victories. It's not quite fighting for a victory just yet, but it is in third place with the hands of Sam Bailey. Oh, Bradley Kent! Bradley Kent was in second place, but he's not anymore because he's just run through the gravel trap at Paddock, and through goes Sam Bailey, through goes Simon Fleet, but then Simon Fleet outbrakes himself in his excitement at being back on the podium perhaps, and Bradley Kent goes back through. So is there a gravel trap that Bradley Kent hasn't been through yet at Brands Hatch? He's certainly been exploring the scenery a little bit, but he's going quickly, and fair play to him. Maybe that's the advantage of youth. It doesn't really matter how many mistakes you make and how many moments you have. It doesn't really deter them, does it, these youngsters? And Bradley Kent, who is, I think, the youngest driver on the grid, is not being deterred at all by the gravelly excursions he's had today, and he's back into third place. And now we'll have to try and set off after Sam Bailey. Whether he and Simon Fleet decide to work together here to try and achieve that goal, we'll have to wait and see. Back with George Grant. You can tell it's George Grant because he was sideways and doing a brilliant job of correcting the slide through clearways. He's in the tow behind Russ Lyndsay as they cross the start-finish line. No doubt has someone equally as close behind him. Russ Lyndsay defending the inside. There's no one in front of Russ, I don't think, is there? Not directly in front, at least. There's a bit of a gap to the next car in front. So, yeah, Lyndsay, Grant heading this group. And I think it's Jim Hart, Clive Powell's, and is that the 71 car, I think, behind at the back of the group? Sorry, 70 car, no, 77, I'll get it right in a minute, of Jeremy Crook. Yes, it is. Matt Pickford and Darren Kell are all part of what is essentially a 7-car train of cars here, though. So I was right that there was no one in front of Russ Lyndsay, but there are several drivers in close proximity behind him. Matt Pickford now gets up the inside of Jeremy Crook. Tries to go up the inside of Jeremy Crook into Surtees, but decides he wasn't quite close enough to go for it. Into clearways again. Russ Lyndsay ahead of George Grant, ahead of Dale Crowsley. Onto the pit straight again. There is Dale Crowsley. We've got the Grant eye view as they head out of clearways, and again Crowsley closes in the slipstream, pulls to the outside, but it's almost like you hit a wall of air, and as soon as you pop out of the draft you've sort of stopped going anywhere really, unless you've got a really good run. So in the end, Grant hangs on. Now we're taking quite a tight line up the hill. I don't think we're close enough to have to defend from Crowsley. Equally, wasn't actually quite close enough to Russ Lyndsay to attack, so it was just a precautionary move over to the right-hand side of the road. Oh, Jude Worley there. They dart around the number 12 car, which is doing its best to stay out of the way. Looks like Grant is a bit slow off Graham Hill Bend, and Crowsley's back up the inside at Surtees. There's almost a wheel on the grass there for George Grant. Is Crowsley going to go through? Yes, he does. George knows when he's beat and decides to step right out of the way. Oh, but then Crowsley might just give him the place back because he's extremely sideways at clearways. I did mention after race 1 that we expected warmer temperatures today. That's exactly what we've had, and I wonder whether maybe the circuit is warm enough that tyres are starting to wear out a bit or maybe overheat, and a few of them not doing much to avoid overheating the tyres, really, are they? They're really pushing hard and dancing the cars around at all sorts of spectacular angles, which looks great, but it's not that quick and it's not brilliant for tyre conservation either. Jeremy Crook and Clive Powell's briefly side by side up the hill, just ahead of Matt Pickford and Darren Kell. Right, back to the second place battle now. It's still Sam Bailey in second, Bradley Kent in third, Simon Fleet fourth. There is Nathan Heathcote, the race leader. Sam Bailey runs a bit wide through clearways though, out onto the marbles on the outside of the track. But actually there seems to be some decent momentum from that line, doesn't there? I don't think it's certainly not what they teach you when you take your ARDS test, but it seems to be working for Sam Bailey. Carries good speed onto the pit straight as a result of that wide line. He'll arrive at paddock with dirt all over his tyres, no doubt. Gets through okay though. Bradley Kent there in one of the other Clapham North liveried machines, and Fleet. Brakes. Fleet again, the latest of the 3 under braking. That's not necessarily the quickest way through the corner though. Jason Marshall-Burks will be, I think, a little bit disappointed with the way this race has panned out. As I say, we couldn't see definitively whether there was any contact between himself and Sam Bailey earlier on, but certainly Sam went up the inside, and the next thing you know, Marshall-Burks is in the gravel at clearways. But we've seen several drivers do that completely unaided, so whether there was contact, I don't know. Only Sam and Joseph will be able to tell you. Sam Bailey again sideways at clearways. Bradley Kent a little bit closer this time maybe though as we come onto the pit straight. I'd say they're catching Heathcote, aren't they? Let's have a look. Bradley Kent has set the fastest lap of the race, interestingly, a 55.814, which is about 2/10 quicker than Heathcote has gone all race. So I think Bradley Kent is sort of spurring Sam Bailey on here, and they're all starting to reel in the race leader. We've still got just over a third of the race to go as well, so there is time yet for a lead change. Another lead change, that is. Is Nathan Heathcote going to be able to hang on at the head of the field until the checkered flag, or are some of those with a bit more experience of circuit racing going to be able to close in? You've got to remember that coming from predominantly a rallycross background, although Nathan had done some karting before that and had success in karting as well, but his biggest... Oh, Sam Bailey's off! Sam Bailey has spun from second place and just, I think, will avoid that, or just nudges the barriers. But Sam Bailey, that was an unforced error really there, you have to say. Just seemed to take a bit too much curb through Surtees, and off he went. So Sam Bailey, thankfully not out of the race, and thankfully hasn't written off Jake Bailey's car and the team's spare car, but that was unfortunate because it takes him out of a podium finish. But to finish the point I was making about Nathan Heathcote, coming from a rallycross background, those races tend to only last sort of 4 or 5 laps at most, and he is now almost, 15 minutes deep into his 3rd race of the weekend, and you certainly get a lot more track time for your money in circuit racing. That comes with extra stress and toll on the body. And whether maybe he's started to flag. I'm sure he's not, but I'm sure not Sam Bailey anymore, but the likes of Bradley Kent will have a bit more experience of this, by Nathan Heathcote standards, long distance racing. 20 minutes, quite a long time to be in the car. Crowsley sideways there as he attacked George Grant, and that allows the 77 of Jeremy Crook back up the inside, and there's contact, and it's not a part of the circuit you want to be making contact at. Jeremy Crook will say that he was cleanly up the inside. I'm sure Dale Crowsley will say he didn't see him there, but Dale may be showing his lack of experience slightly there. You don't really want to move across another car at that part of the circuit because it's probably you that's going to end up in the barriers, not them. It just drops them away slightly now from Russell Lyndsay and George Grant in front. This is still a fight inside the top 10, so they are going to go for it. No points to be scored, as we've said. This is just a series of races, so every position, it doesn't count for points, but it still counts for pride and reputation and bragging rights in the pub later on. And George Grant will be keen to get past Russ Lyndsay here. Russ, a little bit of a moment there maybe through Surtees. Is that going to compromise his entry into clearways? Maybe slightly. Crowsley is an ever-present threat in George Grant's mirrors though, and in fact he has gapped Jeremy Crook quite quickly. I do maintain that Dale Crowsley has some really good pace this weekend, and maybe just needs to iron out a few issues and mistakes, but that will come with experience, and I reckon if he sticks around for a full season, Dale is likely to be fighting for race victories before the end of the year. He reminded me a little bit of James Kell, to be honest, actually, from last year, who sort of turned up out of nowhere, was midfield at the start of the season, and by the end of the year was challenging for podiums. I kind of see the same sort of thing there from Dale Crowsley. George Grant still trying to get past Russ Lyndsay here. Can't do it. They're all starting to take liberties with the track limits, I think, as well, on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, but there are no sensors on that tarmac section, so they know that they can run onto the tarmac, and then as long as they're back on the track by the time it turns into AstroTurf, they're fine. And that's, well, you exploit every rule that you can as a racing driver, and that's one way of doing it. Jeremy Crook there with a big sideways moment. They all got slightly more sideways than each other there, as if they were trying to outdo each other in a private drifting championship through clearways. But, they thankfully all keep it pointing vaguely in the right direction. It's been a great battle, this one, though. One of the closest on the circuit at the moment. George Grant still cannot get past Russ Lyndsay. I think he's quicker, but Russ is defending brilliantly at the moment. George Grant we're on board with again. Closes right in. It's so tempting to run it up the inside or the outside there at Druids, but the inside was covered, and going to the outside would have opened the door for Dale Crowsley behind. So George did the right thing there, just stayed in line, but he's a bit wide unintentionally that time at Graham Hill Bend. Although, strangely, still seems to get the best run of the three cars off the corner. Not quite good enough to get up the inside at Surtees, but it was almost good enough. Back through the left-hander. Oh, Grant sideways under braking. Oh dear, that's the number 19 car off at Paddock Hill Bend, unfortunately. And will that require a safety car for Liz Walton's car to be recovered, I wonder? Wait and see. We're getting towards the end of the race anyway. We're in the final couple of minutes. Maybe that they decide to throw the checkered flag maybe a minute or two early. We are pushed for time at this late stage of the day at Brands Hatch as well, so that wouldn't surprise me. This car just there, beached in the gravel. It's off the track at least. They may decide to cover it under yellow flags. We'll wait and see. In a way, I hope they do, because I want these battles to continue for as long as possible. There's Sam Bailey recovering from his spin. Matt Pickford's had dramas today as well, so too has Darren Kell. So this is sort of the walking wounded club a little bit further down the order. I don't think Sam Bailey damaged the car particularly, but damaged his pride maybe. This has not been as strong a weekend as Sam would have hoped for. Non-finish in race 1. Came back for the 3rd place from the back of the grid in race 2, but this one doesn't look like he's going to make the top 10, unfortunately, after another spin. And on neither occasion has he had any contact. The first one in race 1 he could put down to cold tyres, but the second one in this race, yeah, I think he'll be a bit disappointed with that, but that's all the more excuse for him to come back next time and prove that he still knows how to pedal these things quickly, as we know he does. Everyone has an off day, I suppose. Sam Bailey, unfortunately, having one of those weekends here at Brands Hatch where nothing really seems to be working. Pickford there in the blue and white car, getting away now slightly from Dale Crowsley and Jeremy Crook. So he's bought himself a little bit of breathing room. As I say that though, Crowsley does his best to prove me wrong and closes back in again. Graham Hill, Crowsley slightly wider, just half a car's width wider on the entry, and that just gives him a slightly better exit speed. And he's right with Russ Lyndsay. You work with fractions and millimetres in motorsport, and it's so hard to do at these speeds, but if you're on a slightly more optimal line through the corner, it can really reap the wards on the exit. Russ Lyndsay throwing it sideways. Maybe the tactic here is that if you drive sideways around the whole circuit, then no one's going to be able to get past you because you're filling more of the road. I don't know. Certainly lots of sideways action at clearways in this race. On to the final lap of the race, though, and it's looking good for Nathan Heathcote at the head of the field. Bradley Kent, though, I can tell you, has been closing in on Nathan in recent laps. I don't think he's quite going to have the time to get there, but Nathan Heathcote, your race leader, can he take a victory in his debut in the series, excuse me? Whether he's back again later this year awaits to be seen. More than likely not. This was just a signature exercise, but nonetheless, Nathan Heathcote has driven really impressively in the 2 races today. Didn't race yesterday in race 1, but to come from the back of the grid to finish 5th in race 1 was impressive enough. And now he is going to take the checkered flag in race 2, but only just. Look at that, Bradley Kent right with him at the flag, but it is Heathcote that wins. Kent 2nd, Fleet 3rd, and in 4th position, Joseph Marshall-Burks. The top 4 covered by just 1.4 seconds at the flag. Alex Miller is 5th, Javier Brook is 6th, then Russ Lyndsay, Jeremy Crook, Dale Crowsley, and Jake Swan-Dixon gets himself his 2nd top 10 finish of the day. George Grant is next ahead of Sam Bailey, 12th, Matt Pickford, Darren Kell, Clyde Powell's round out the top 15. Liz Walton, a non-finisher, whilst Declan Lee, Chris Webster and James Kell failed to finish. Well, it's been a great opening weekend here at Brands Hatch. 3 different winners from 3 races, lots to talk about, and Nathan Heathcote, a really impressive race victory. victory. Watch for big things from him this year.
The sun was setting on that final race of the weekend, but you got a podium.
Yeah, it's great. First podium, and especially to be at my home track as well. It's lovely, so good.
That seemed like it was keeping you true out there.
Yeah, all the boys were, to be fair. It was on my tower every now and again, and was catching the leader, so it was good. A few more laps, I think it would have been a three-way battle for the lead, so it's good, really good, yeah.
So next time, you're going to be pushing for first?
Hope so. Out in the Super Cup next time, so hopefully we'll do the same thing, but yeah, there's a few fast boys out in that, so you never know, do you?
Well done from us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Simon, you started second, but you came third, but I think you are still overjoyed with that.
Absolutely ecstatic. It was a battle from start to finish. I've never seen so many cars go through the gravel. We swapped positions about 5 or 6 times. It's a really tough circuit to overtake on, particularly when someone just hugs the inside line. But yeah, good driving, track's going off, tyres are really sliding, but fantastic. First weekend of the season and 3 podiums.
You couldn't ask for a better weekend, could you?
No, it's been magical.